what your choices have been, and what karmic timelines and contracts you have journeyed. The light is calling for the reunification of all aspects of life in this realm now. It is calling for the cleansing of all polarities. It is calling for the rising of all sacred heart centers now. All are being summoned home to the greater light now.
Hi, and welcome everyone to Whole Soul Mastery and Whole Soul School and Foundation's joint podcast today, where we are going to be talking again with Dr. Terry Cole-Whittaker. My name is Marie Mohler, and I'm an author, intuitive, and a messenger of the Rising Heroic Soul's Journey and Whole Soul Mastery. And I want to welcome you, Terry, and I want to thank you for joining me today. We are going to go on a journey talking about step 3, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. I just want to welcome you and thank you.
Oh, thank you, Marie. Well, it's such a pleasure to be with you because you know how much I love you, and you're just so smart and so cool and so fab. How could I? And I'm just a lucky person just to be with you and be on your show.
I feel the same, and I know, like, I get feedback from people who listen to our podcast. And it is a joy to be in our authentic nature and just being in that like heart stream of love and seeing each other for the divinity we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, remember there's an Asian way you greet people like with namaste, which is always nice. It means the God within me greets the God within you.
Right.
And you just bow to that. You know, we shouldn't be shaking hands and hugging much anyway now, only because of the situation that we're in with a lot of people out there, and you want to respect where people are. But to me, always that you put your hands together and you just think you're respecting the other person. I acknowledge who you are. Yeah.
Right. And there's it's a deep connection, though, when people awaken to energy and all of that. Like, even though people aren't hugging, some people have just walled out, and that's a whole other conversation for another day. But you don't have to, like, you and I don't live in the same region of the country. But I feel like I get a hug from you every time we talk, right?
That's right. We're giving hugs. We're giving love. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We're just
exactly.
See, when we're trying to become real, the thing is, we start to notice, like yesterday, a neighbor brought his girlfriend over to meet, and then she had all these plans. Oh, we'll go do this. And I could say, I don't do that. See, I'm like a monk in a way. I don't go places. I've done everything my whole life. I've gone everywhere, done everything I ever wanted. This is what I want. I'm focusing purely on my spiritual work and to help others that way. I don't do those, but you kept trying to talk me into it. And in the olden days, I would, okay, honey, I'll do that so you like me and I feel good. And I'm going, there's nothing over in that person I want to learn from, or we have nothing in common. And I'm going to be preaching at her all the time. I can't help it. That's what I do. And that's not what I want to be doing to everybody. But it's what are you going to do? And so now, because it used to be, we might have 3 people want an appointment, and I'd say yes to everybody. So I'd have 2 people mad at me and 1 wouldn't, because I didn't want to hurt people's feelings or them to be mad at me. Instead, tell the truth. If you really don't like to eat that, tell somebody, I don't like to eat that, and I won't. That's fine. But we tend, without our boundaries, we just want everybody to like us. We don't want to be alone. We want to be in a group. Spiritual life, you might call it very lonely. But no, you are communicating with a supreme power, energy, life force, being that you are part of. And that's where the joy is, because I'm a pleasure seeker. Yeah. And because our nature is pleasure. We're looking for a good time. Girls just want to have fun. Woo-hoo.
Right. Woo-hoo. Right. It's so true. And there's a whole other level of riches or richness in that experience. But you know, I think we have to go through. All the times we said yes when we meant no. About the appointments or visits or having tea with someone, whatever it is. until you do it for the last time. And I've learned something in the last few years that I really articulated to myself. I think sometimes we have to go past our limit, our threshold for things, so we know where the limit is, and then we know how to say no. Right?
Yes.
And so,
or you have to know what you need. Like, I'm a person who needs a lot of alone time in a way. And it used to be, I wouldn't say things. I just let it all pile up and then blow. Just let them have it. When nobody really did anything, I didn't take care of me. So we have to know just like the cat. She's going to go, like I'm going to bite you. She's not really, but it's like, she's got these little teeth. What's she going to do with two giant humans? And she's like, I ain't going to get you. And you go, I appreciate that. I'm backing off. You got it. But you have to know your own needs. Truly, how you function.
Truly. Yes. Well, so speaking of needs and speaking about all this beautiful energy, I know we're going to focus in today. So we had 2 podcasts already. We talked about, we discussed, and we were shining a light. We're talking all about your 8 steps to spiritual and earthly riches. And so step 1 was the asking for our heart's desires. And step number 2 was appreciating what we already have. And here we are today. We're going to focus in on step number 3, be willing to have what you asked for, but the willingness is the key. And there's other elements to that. And I wanted to read just a couple of things from your article about this, and we're going to point people in the direction at the end of this call today where they can read it for themselves. But you said, renewed enthusiasm and empowerment happens when we realize, root out, and eliminate what has been working against us, first within our own mind, and then in every aspect of our personal and collective worlds and realities. Basically, you have to know and possess what you already have, and that is who and what you are as a pure spirit soul who is eternity and life with all God-like, source-like powers, qualities, and abilities. If this is all true, then why all the suffering in the world and the struggles to maintain the body? The mind is the cause of all miseries, suffering, wars, abuse, torture, birth, and death, the illusion. You are the 3D body. And then you go on to say, difficult times are indicated for humanity at large because of the consequences of their past activities and behavior, their karma. And you say, what I have found from all of my years of research and teaching is that if you want to have what you need to thrive, you need to immerse yourself in spiritual practices, build your prosperity consciousness, cast out stoppages and what I call word demons, nasty thought forms, be certain of the truth that always is, and go forward with enthusiasm to do your life's work and the fulfillment of your purpose and your mission. And we're going to talk a little bit, but you talk about blockages, because that's going to be, I think that's the key to this. Maybe I'll read that and then we can have a chat about this. And then we're going to, and then you have kind of a process that can help people with all of this. You say blockages are thought forms that are contrary and opposing you and what you want to have and accomplish. They stop the flow of divine and mystic energy like a crimp in a garden hose pinches off the nourishing water of life to one's garden. Undo the crimp, and the water flows freely, nurturing all that receives it. Observe and make note of the thoughts that flow through the mind when you contemplate attaining an object or situation, especially what is dearest to your heart. So observe the specific workings of an uncontrolled mind and the effects. But that's critical, the blockages, because a lot of people ask, you know, people cry out all the time, especially when they're suffering. And and I don't. Step number 2 is critical because the appreciation kind of is the grease or the oil. It's the lubricant that makes that creates a pathway for good things to come to you. But see, number 3 is so important because a lot of people don't realize, they don't even know how to let in what they're asking for. Yeah,
that's right.
Can you talk about that? Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the willingness to receive. You see, remember, because we think about outflow and inflow. And if you have a pond, a water pond, and you block the inflow of the water, you can, and the water flowing out the other side, pretty soon your pond will be empty unless it's being filled by water somewhere, the filling. And then the other part is say that when you're receiving and you don't inflow or outflow, everything gets stagnant. It's like it's no different than if you take care of your intestines, and that's a one thing with people is your digestion. And it's if you don't get the nutrients from the food and you're just eating food that has no nutrients, your body doesn't get fed. So it becomes weaker and different points and things because you're not receiving the nutrients. Right. It's the same as, I was working with this one person who, in fact, I had two different friends who, as newborn babies, were thrown in dumpsters. And they became spiritual teachers, which is so interesting. And I have another person I'm working in who has I'm an orphan kind of a consciousness and went through all these foster homes and had a terrible thing. But what I find is the hard thing is to actually give up the story, because even though it's not here, it's still using the story. And that's one of the things that blocks people is they're attached to the story that they're trying to prove. Like the lady I was talking to yesterday, she wanted to say, oh, I'm so afraid. And I said, everybody's afraid. I mean, get on with it. It's like, nah. See, if you went to a psychic and they said, you have a lot of fear, they go, oh, aren't they fabulous? They could tell. Everybody's got it. God, everybody's got it.
They're so psychic. Yeah.
Yes, so psychic. Yeah, it's just everybody. No, it is, and because the mind works the same way. And the mind is I call it a hack of consciousness, because it fractures. It gives you a conscious, a subconscious, and the unconscious, and all that, where we are, as divine beings, have both cosmic and mystic, all-knowing wisdom. Just like we were mentioned before, when we used to talk about, your higher self, well, that means you're in your lower self. You don't have two selves. There's the divine presence, which is total wisdom that we are part of. You are part of all-knowing, who is everywhere present, all-powerful, and the sweetest and the most beautiful of all that is possible, you see. And it's the willingness to receive it, because say if you're a victim and you get everything from being a victim, do you think you want to give it up? No. But are you really getting what you want? No. You have drama. You've got to manipulate. See, with all the stuff happening in the world, you better know how to use divine magic, spiritual magic. And women have it much stronger than the males. And that's one of the reasons they want to get rid of the real woman, because of who we are and what we have. And as our function in having children, our function in being multitaskers, our functions in creating a home, a foundation. But it's like, I remember programming my subconscious to warn me if there's any danger for my children, or anything like that. And I know you could relate to that. And I remember this one time, run, because I let my kids have the old garage. It was their fort, the theater, the neighbor's place. And I run, there's my daughter with a screwdriver trying to fix the electrical outlet. It's like, she's like 6 years old. I'm like, give me that. So people don't realize, because we have to know these things. You have to trust your feelings and your knowing that, because we're all knowing. The part that we're all part of God, the supreme source, male, female, however you want to call it. And everybody here in the material world, they get all caught up with sense gratification, just like so many people in the sensual experience with their partner, their mate. They don't have feelings anymore. So many people go for porn because it's visual stimulation, because they don't have any feeling. And so what we have to do is we can recover from things. And I don't like the word recover. It means to be covered again. But it's like you can't. I've recovered from so many things. I had rheumatoid arthritis in my body in India, and I went on the internet and I wrote. I said, this is when you could get a lot of information. Quite a few years ago, I said, cause and natural cure for rheumatoid arthritis. I got what it was. I cured my body very quickly and found what it was. It was leaky gut. And then I also had a thing. I had a little thing on my thumb that was starting to build one of those little bumps for arthritis. We'll start hitting it with a rock. It'll go away. It's just a calcium deposit or things like that. People don't even know how their body functions. I remember I used to do a lot of goddess retreats, and I would have the women with their eyes closed. We had music, touch every part of their body and ask forgiveness for hating and judging their body as being bad and wrong and not beautiful and the cause of their misery and their suffering because they weren't good enough. And that whole mental thing, this is something that's so beautiful. Divine grace can do the impossible. This requires absolute faith beyond doubt to occur. And doubt is the killer. And I don't say dreams because you have to be asleep to dream. I don't dream. You focus on what you want and you do it. You image it, you visualize it, but you don't go to sleep to get it. You're awake and you're clear and you know what there's there. So many of our words, people don't realize these are programs in there, and then people hold on. Just when I told people, when you say the word bless you, it's be less you. I'm a wordsmith, and you have to learn something about divine word magic. It's not divine, but word magic, and how those words, whoever controls the meaning of the words that we were taught to use, are going to control the people. So you can see how media, education, how everything has got the same thing in it to depower you because of who you are. And when you know who you are, nobody can depower you. And one of the keys is you have to be willing, here's a big one, to have that much good.
Wow, right.
Correct. If your story is to prove you're a victim, you got to keep doing it, and you got to have a persecutor, and you've got to have the savior. And once they save you, you'll turn on them, and you'll be their victimizer. That's the way it works. That's why I stopped saving the world, because people don't appreciate when you save them. They get mad at you.
Because it conflicts with their story.
It does. They're not getting their goodies. If your racket is to be you got to get your racket going. Yeah, it's just my racket. It's like, how do you play tennis? You got to have a racket, and the ball goes where you hit it.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is so good to spotlight, because there's so many ways that we can be blocked. But a big one is our words, how we use our words in our stories. Right. We often are our biggest obstacle because of our addiction to the story.
Well, you know what it is too? Yeah, exactly. What I started looking at was also because you have to look at where does this stuff come from, and that's why I've had many, many, many past lives, and as everybody has, but my memory was not wiped. I don't know why, not whatever, but anyway, since the beginning of even entering into the game, into all of that.
Yeah.
So I don't have stuff that I get from others. It's what I do learn from others, obviously, because you need a teacher. And this is what's important. With a lot of people, when I started, after my body was 50, I had always thought, well, my next lifetime, I'm going to be an opera singer. Because I thought, God, it's going to be great. You're going to be on the stage. You get the lights. You're going to send you the flowers. The guys are going to bring you chocolate boxes. Yeah, it's going to be great. And I thought, that would be, because I've done everything in this life I wanted. Well, I'll do that one. And I thought, then, well, why wait? So by just being open to it, then one of my students suggested that I go take lessons from the maestro, David Kyle, up in Seattle. And when I did, and then became an opera singer, actually, and learned mostly Puccini arias as a lyric soprano. I loved it, but I realized I didn't want to stand on the stage. I've already done all that. But I really wanted to experience the fullness of my voice. And what it was the maestro was working almost all the time on was confidence. And he never told you what you did wrong. He would give you the lesson, and when you got it right, he said, that's it right there. Yeah, right there. And he taught that way, very affirmative in that sense but gave me the lessons and then I did them. But with having see, if I bought a book on how to voice, okay, there are a lot of books on how to train your voice. Do you know that's very dry, but nobody's listening to you. You're going to do it according to your mind. This is what happens. You're going to do things according to your programming. Just like say if someone says, "Oh, look at the snowflake," someone says, "Well, you know, no two snowflakes are the same." Who's been counting?
That's a good question.
But see, these are questions. This is why the Socratic method was such a great you need a teacher. And people say, like I've had not too often, but I've had a few people who will write me and say, send me your main mantras and affirmations. Send me, what are the books you read? They thought they can get everything I can get from my book. They can't. They can't. You can think you can, but you can't, because you're coming in with what you already brought with you, and you're going to apply that to everything. You're going to make it fit what your belief system is and what your game is and what you're doing. And I want to say, how's it working for you? How's it working for you? But when you have a live, breathing, real person who's gone through and has achieved all those things that you want to achieve and has a good system and everything like a voice, he had to listen to me. And he had to know my character. And he had to work with me. And that's the same when I had my guru who's passed on in India. And then what do they do in this word? Trash the word guru. Oh, he's a shoe guru. Oh, and he's a mouse guru. We were talking about mouse. These are gurus, and they make it look like it's just a dumb, stupid thing that you don't need. But it's not true. But you have to get the right one. When we look at that, all of those things that we say we want by that doesn't come from money. There's moneyed worlds and non-moneyed worlds, and they're trying to get the joy and the beauty of a non-moneyed world from stuff. And I remember looking at when I was changing my world from my television ministries and being out in the world like that, and realize that's not my path. And I saw what was going on in the celebrity world in Hollywood and all these things. And they approach you, man, they're there. And I went, they had offered me MGM and Sony, and these people all came forth and they did a pilot for the Terry Cole show. And that was wanted by every basically TV station out there because it was so fabulous. And they said, well, the one way, only thing you have to give up your religion and church. I said, never. And he said, but you'll make millions. I said, I don't care. What do I care? I can only eat so much in one sitting before you fall off your chair. Come on.
But you know, not everybody, like you said, you basically were saying you came in, you were born, and you knew you were born kind of knowing at this higher level. So when those games and tricks were offered to you, you see the apple right in front of you, like the serpent and the apple, and saying, I don't think so.
No,
right?
Because you see where it's going. And then you have to look at what are your values. So here's the thing. To really get the most out of this stuff, you have to find out, what are my blockages? What's working against me? What's going on? And one of the things I started looking at was, what is the character I put together as Terry Cole-Whittaker from my parents? And I was thinking, well, I can't think of much because it was this. And when I started to look, I remember my sweet little mom. She when she took birth, she was 2 months premature, and she was kept in an incubator in a hospital for 2 months, really no human contact, hardly. And when she came home, they put her little body in a shoebox. Well, anyway, she's a tough little kid. I mean, she took care of it. I mean, my little mom. But anyway, I was 18 months old, and I was standing in the doorway, and I saw my mom sucking her thumb. I went, oh, man, my mom's a baby. What am I going to do?
Right? That was an interesting mirror in front of you.
So I took on her pain. Because children love their parents. I don't care who they are or what they are. They adore you. Plus, they're thinking all the time, not just in words, because we know. See, I knew as soon as I took birth, my mother was envious and my dad was afraid. I felt that. And then I was screaming mad that I was here again. I said, dang it, what did I do? Bummer. and so it's like back to the drawing board, you know what I mean? So,
right, exactly.
It's back to the drawing board. And so when I started looking at that, and part of being famous was that my dad could brag about me at the bar. I'm telling you, it sounds stupid, but I just love my dad. It was like, and he'd be proud of me, and he could do, and then my grandma could be proud. But you take a look at how did you put yourself together? What is this character? But when we start to get into what is the real me, that becomes, we do know that in our heart, but we didn't listen. And because we're too busy trying to work out our racket, you know, I remember when the S training was big in the 80s. And of course I did everything that came along, you know, it was great. But then my daughter, my daughters went, my parents did also too, it was cool. But my daughters went. And then Rebecca, the younger daughter, she remembers then being born and when they want to say babies don't know all this, they know everything. They can see what you're doing. They're watching. They say, oh, they don't develop this. They say all these things because they're using, just like when they try and do your IQ. That's just when they, like in the betas, they'll say in India that the woman is less intelligent than the man. What means is she's not using her mind because she's using her heart. And that's a problem when you don't know where your vulnerabilities are, because you're not going to make good decisions if you only come from your heart. You also have to come from your intelligence. You have to use discernment. You have to have two things. Right. And if you don't know what you're going to do, you're going to get the result anyway, whether you know it or not, you see. And that's why go ahead.
Just the energy inside you is going to create what is there or what isn't there. So if you're not working together with your head and your heart, it's going to create that kind of lopsided or distorted manifestation.
That's right. Just like you get, like if a male is all left brain, there's no heart, or a female. And that's a lot of people, they lose their heart because it's like, in my life, I have tended, to beat up my right side of my body, which is the male, and then create all this pain and suffering in the left of my female. So I'd broken at 3.5 or 4 years old, I was shot with a .22 because we're playing cowboys with real guns. Because I was a kid, you know, you find some guns, well, let's fight. And it was broken in skiing. It's my motorcycle. I just beat the heck out of that right side, which is beating up the male, which I was given. And to do all the work I had to do, I was really trusting my female, but I also had to bring out my male. So you have to have a balance. And if you don't like the word male, female, don't use plus or minus. Oh, it's positive and negative. What is that? Those positive is a minus and a plus is a negative. A woman's supposed to be a negative because she's a minus, and a man's a positive because he's a plus. This is a subconscious picks all this up. And what people have is the basic feeling they're not worthy. That's what it is. I am not.
You said
good
earlier
enough.
that doubt, that not unworthiness. You said that's the killer. Is that the killer of our desires?
Self-doubt. It's the killer self-doubt. Of the real soul or the self of who you are to do your life's work, to be that divine being that you are. You have the power, but if you don't own it, and you have to be in harmony with it, because if you don't know how life operates, and you don't know that what you give out, you're going to get back at some level at the moment you give it. And there's knowledge there. And so when I wanted to obtain it, I wanted to be television. And I remember sitting in my wonderful class in Science of Mind. It was just wonderful, especially the practitioner. And I would visualize myself on television. But I didn't tell a soul. Because when you tell people what you're going to do, it will bring up envy, and they'll go, who do you think you are? or how come you get to do that? And because my sisters, I grew up with, there were 4 of us girls. And it was like, it's not fair Terry Nan gets to do this. It's not fair Terry Nan gets to do. Well, what do you mean? They could have done it. I'm just a doer.
Yes.
But then you feel
right.
bad because they're suffering because of what you're doing when you could do it. What am I stopping
right,
you
and then you
for?
don't want to shine as bright, right? Then you dim your light.
That's
Some
right.
people do, though. Some people do. They say, oh, okay, I'm sorry I'm making you uncomfortable. I'll shrink.
Yes. Well, I did that. I almost felt I should die because if I made people unhappy, I don't want to. I should go away. So I would actually go away so they wouldn't suffer anymore. And then they think I abandoned them, but I didn't think they liked me. The mind makes up these stories.
The mind makes up these stories, and it fills in any gaps that we have. And usually with that negativity you're talking about,
self-abuse.
Right?
It's self-abuse. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah. We have to relearn. We have to remember how to tell better stories to ourselves and be loving to ourselves. Like when you say you beat up your right side of your body and your left side of your body, at a certain point you reached your capacity with that, and you probably
that's right. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
No,
right.
No, and then about 6 weeks ago, when I tripped. And not on the ice or snow because I up here in the ice and snow I use my ski poles to get around. It's great because I can run around in the snow and not slip and fall. But I tripped on something else, and when I landed, my left hand, the fingers took that, and then all the muscles. So it was an interesting learning experience. But it actually repaired some things. So when you're actually looking at stuff, everything you can get value from. See, if you don't take the story and you think that's about you and your life, you're an eternal being who make up any story you want. If you don't know your purpose, make one up. Whatever, make it good. You can love
make
God
it good.
And God, make it good, man. My God is fabulous and is crazy for me.
We want to hang out with that loving God that wants the best for us, right?
Now, if you're going to work with Marie and I as teachers, we can help you. And this is our work. Right. It's not that we wouldn't do it because we love you, but this has also to do our work. So then it's the giving of the money. It's the giving of the energy. It's like I take a look at that. When you get the real good stuff, there is no amount. You cannot even have that much gratitude because it is so liberating on every single way and rich. There's no limit to the good you can have. None. You set the limit.
Well, let me share just, in your words from the article, because it just puts it into a framework of what you're talking about. So, again, just to say to our listeners, this step 3 is really important because it's being willing to have what you asked for. But in the willingness, in that journey of willingness, we have to look at the obstacles. We have to look at what's blocking us to the good that wants to find us. And you, in this article, talk about this, this obstacle clearing process, the OCP. And you say, I suggest you contemplate each question that we're going to talk about here in a minute. You say, I suggest you contemplate each question and write down all the thoughts that the mind is dredging up about the recesses of the mind labyrinth. Answer each question truthfully to yourself and keep this for your eyes only to help you free yourself from bindings that suppress and repress. Write the answer that comes to you and feels right, and get to the basic fear and see the lie, the story, the lies we tell ourselves, right? So be 100% truthful, and people are unpracticed in truth, but this is an invitation. This is how we start to live the life you're talking about, where you're so filled with joy, it's like overflowing. But truth is a great liberator. It oils our inner gears and opens these paths. So you say, be 100% truthful to yourself if you want this revealing exercises to help you to remember, realize, and activate yourself as a God particle. And then write your answers on separate papers and leave this copy clean for future use. Oh, so you just have this, you have this in your blog article, so people can print that out and write their answers from it. And you say,
can they get that from you? Can they get the article from going to your blog, right? Your site? Can I get
It's not
that?
on my site. They can get it on my YouTube channel. I could put it in the YouTube channel in the text. Yes.
Yeah, do something
Yeah,
like that, or somewhere maybe so they could get it from you.
So they can get it. That's what I'll do. I'll make it available. Exactly.
Because it has the questions there.
Right. But you say that you use this particular method. You developed this method when you were building your church in San Diego, and you were building your international Emmy-winning television ministry outreach. You said, I would often clear any objections, because you had them. We all have them. And it was usually the fear, right? All of them. And it was usually the fear of what other people would do to you as your work flourished, right? It's like you wanted to be, to reach more people and be in the light and, out there speaking and touching people's lives and do all that. And then there's this obstacle, this fear that's like, what happens if my work actually does get out there and flourishes, right? It's this,
because if you can't handle criticism, see, the problem is that people stop because someone either told them you're not an artist or you can't sing. These are terrible things to say to people, because that's not true. Anybody can do whatever they want. So anyway, one of the things in clearing the process, first of all, you want to say, well, what is it that you want to have? And I remember when I would do a talk, in fact, one of my students, she's just fabulous too, and she's been going to Toastmasters and just winning all the time, because I could tell her how to do all these things, because I was a top level motivational speaker in the world. And so I just give her all that stuff, and she's just doing great. And clearing her obstacles of being a speaker. But I first say, what do you want to accomplish? What is it that you want? And then you say, okay, now what is it that you say you get to, here's another thing. You want to request that your subconscious, and you can do it, or God will tell, however you're going to do that, will tell you what it is. And a lot of the stuff is buried very deeply. They get on to, this is if you don't know yourself and see, people don't watch your mind. Watch what your mind is telling you. When you go to do something and you say, and it's not working in your life, well, then say, what's stopping me? Ask. And then you ask from within. I remember this one. In fact, when I was in India. This is almost 20 years ago that this happened. But anyway, I said, my arms were just terribly burning with pain. And that's when I said, oh my God, what is this? And I thought, well, is this arthritis? And when I went and I looked what it was, if you're going to gain something, you have to lose something. And I wanted to gain health. I had to give up what was causing the sickness. If you want a loving relationship, it's natural. But what you have to give up is what you're doing that's causing the fighting. What's down in there? What are you proving? And there's a lot of past life stuff I've done, and I do with people also myself. But I did years of it. And there were people in my life. There were a couple people that were in my ministry at High Thing. And my prior lifetime was as a Gnostic teacher. And at one time, and I was mercilessly, the body was killed by these two guys that now in this lifetime were very close. And yet they were stealing from me, see, and doing other things. And so when I found out,
stealing life force and just in a different way this lifetime.
Same time, because we tend to keep hanging out with the same folks, moving around, and because you got issues and attacks. So when you actually see the trance, when you actually see it and you look at it and you see what you're getting out of it, that you then pull the thought demon out. Do you know you can get rid of everything, because if it's all in the mind, which it is, and there is a real world, the real world is there, but it's our perception as to what we get. So if I'm perceiving lack, I will get lack. If I am perceiving abundance, I will have abundance. If I were perceiving, you see, clearly, you see, I know where other people are, because you can read their minds constantly. Every little muscle in. I used to teach nonverbal communication, and when I first did, corporate 500 businesses and I was a keynote speaker, nonverbal communication was always a big hit because, for instance, like if you're a gambler, you can't be a gambler with blue eyes because you'll always see when you get a good hand, your pupil of your eye is going to dilate. And you can't wear dark glasses or your hand's going to show in your glasses. I mean, it's like there's all kinds of things going on. Yeah.
Wow.
But so you ask for the stuff and then you take it. These are just thought forms. And here's the key. This statement is so cool that I've been hanging out with it. You know, hang out with stuff, truths, and work with them.
Yes.
Yes. And when you get this whole
They'll
thing
be
from
your
Marie,
mentors. Truth.
Yes.
Truth can be a mentor. Yes.
Yes. Truth. And we are the absolute truth. It's not a thought. You are the absolute truth. Thoughts are thoughts. You are the truth. Okay. Divine grace can do the impossible. This requires absolute faith, beyond doubt, a shadow of a doubt to incur. I tell you this one time, I had a friend, I tried to do it fast. We were in Hawaii and we'd all been out to dinner and we got back and Josh said, my wallet's gone. So, called the place. They didn't have it, wasn't anywhere. He said, last time I saw it was in my glove compartment. I said, okay. So I said, do you really want it? He said, well, yeah. I said, so I sat down and I meditated and I saw myself going there, opening up the glove compartment, and there was the wallet. Well, I get myself in that high state. I get in there and I go open it and it wasn't there. I did this about 3 times. Each time I increased my faith. Each time to absolutely dare to have absolute trust and knowing. You have to dare. You have to. Because you say, well, what if it doesn't work? Forget that. That's a mind. Tell me if it doesn't work. What your mind's going to tell me? Not. Come on. So anyway, then I said,
that's
well, Josh,
huge.
you
Dare to have absolute faith. That is huge.
Yes.
Oh, please go on. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And so I said, So I said, are you sure you want it? He said, well, I go meditate on it. He came back a while and said, I'm ready. I now did my most colossal meditation, got it. I was so absolutely certain when I went out there and I opened the glove compartment, the wallet was right there. Now, but I have to tell you how it happened. But for me, I manifested it. I don't care how it got there. I manifested that. God manifested it through me. I don't take the credit because I know I'm not the doer, but I know how to work it. But anyway, so because you get in harmony with it, it works through you.
Yes.
You don't have, it works through you. That's how it works. So anyway, he said, I went back and I started hunting. There was the wallet right on the floor I had walked over many times and it wasn't there. He said, so I went and put it in there. And I said, well, probably it was on its way and all the further it got was the floor of your room. And you carried it the rest. It doesn't matter to me how it got there. I visualized it, and it was there. So stop doubting how it got there, people.
Well, with all that, without all your meditating and focused intention, it would have been still stuck in its place, and you guys still would have seen it wherever it was.
No, it never, ever.
But you got crystal clear on it being where it was supposed to be, and it found you, and that's
That's how I levitated. And I'm not saying, I can go around and levitate. I have no idea. I tripped off of a Mayan temple up at the top to fall head first down that people die though all the time. They closed off Chichen Itza and places because too many people die from falling down the stairs. Just like falling in Varanasi and down into the Ganges River. That's one of the big dangers because the steps are so steep. So as I tripped, I immediately said no, and I jumped and I pushed my body as I was in the air, and I went into suspended animation. And it was like a tick, 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 and I was moving my body all around. I was able to come down again on my right leg on the first step, the second step. And then then my leg was like, oh man. And I got down the bottom because my car was two miles away. And I thought, what am I going to do? Up pulls a guy with a bicycle with a back seat.
This is that magic you're talking about. This is that magic. No matter what's happening, no matter what's happening, you can access whatever it is that you need, a bike, a wallet, right? But you have to practice. You're not saying all these stories which are so fabulous, by the way.
No, I study. I have teachers. Oh, my God, I have counseling, teachers, seminar, workshop, study. I read. This is my life because it's so good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. And it comes to, you bring it to life, and you're bringing this to life for anyone who's listening. There are a lot of people in the world, not necessarily our audiences here, because a lot of people who find a podcast like this will already be on the path somewhere. But regardless, people bounce into podcasts for all different kinds of reasons. And it's important, if people are stuck in their life and they think there's no way and there's no how, there's no way you're going to find the wallet, you practice these things ahead of time. When you create and you're excited about creating something you want to manifest, that's another thing. But when you're in need, the time to have created the practice was like a day ago or a week ago or a year ago, right? You have to pay into it so that it's there for you.
Yes. You know how many people try and convince you of lack and limitation, and I find that for me, people are arguing all the time for their limitations to try and prove that's correct, when basically these are all layers of bindings. They say in the Vedas, the ancient knowledge, that there are 9 different layers that are between, that are used to dull our light. Because it says that we're brighter. Each one of us as a God particle is brighter than 10,000 of these suns. And remember when people say there's nothing new under the sun. Well, to get something new, you go beyond this sun. Absolutely. But so you have to know what the words are actually saying. And a lot of that I got from writing ads and stuff from my work, where you learn to really know what am I really saying here. And then you study all this kind of things. But it's just there's so much, but the obstacles are within your own consciousness that have to do with demon thought forms. And I call them demon thought forms because if you believe your mind, you're going to give up on yourself. And you're going to be thinking you can't even sleep. But most people cannot control their mind. And there's simple exercises that you can master, but you have to work at it. It's harder to control the mind than it is a hurricane. But you could do it.
It's true. Yeah.
You've got to do it.
It is. That's what we're here to master, and it needs to be in its proper position to implement what the heart is saying, right? What the heart knows. Yeah. But it can be a lifelong journey, as you described, and it continues.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why you work with, like when you work with everybody, when you work with Maria and she knows and she's there to support you. See, when there's a true teacher, they really do love you, whether you like them or not. They're always working for you. They really, because they're working for themselves and because they have compassion. And when we talk about being you could be I'm a vegetarian, but because of what it means is that my body and everybody's human body is not a carnivore machine, an animal eating machine. It's not. We're fruitarians. That's the intestines we have. Vegetarian. That's the teeth we have. And because we are the ones to care for animals, not the ones to be their attackers, and we have to have compassion. And one thing has happened to people is the lack of feeling what other people are feeling. When we know that what other people are feeling and such, we don't want to create them to suffer. Not that we have to do what they want us to do, but to look before we do something, even to communicate, to say, how can I communicate this to someone in an empowering way? You don't say, oh, you can't, I don't know, I can't understand because you don't talk right and you don't do this. That's not going to help. You say, I don't understand and I want to or understand. And then you come from an empowering way because there's someone with feelings over there. And just like your cat has feelings, your dog, cows have feelings, elephants have feelings, giraffes have feelings, hippopotamus have feelings. It's like, whales have feelings, just like us, because we come from the same fabric. But people say no because, well, zap, you're a cat. So I talk to my cat all the time because she's really a divine being, just like me. But she thinks she's a cat, and next lifetime she's going to be a snow leopard, and she's getting rid of.
Oh, I love it. And they manifest too. They're manifesting.
Of course they do.
They're sentient souls too. Of course. Yeah.
She's a rescue cat from the back alleys of West Hollywood, and she's lived great in Mount Shasta, running everywhere, and now up in the the foothills of the Canadian Rockies. She's got a whole another life. And she's such a great little companion. Yeah, and she's my grand cat because it was my daughter's child.
Right.
She got my grand.
Well, I love hearing how the cats manifest. I watch my animals do it all the time. I watch the deer in my backyard manifest me giving them carrots. So
exactly,
they do it very well. They don't have the egos we have.
No, that's why everybody, you should always carry rescue remedy. The Bach flower remedy. That works on animals. So I had Haji, a big golden retriever, beautiful dog, and he was down. This was when I was living in the other side they call West Washington. And he was down, and he never got sick, and he wouldn't get up. I went in, and I sprinkled some in his mouth. Instantly, he went quick, up strong, didn't go back down again. I healed a cat I hit by the car on a road one night. I went over and I sprinkled something, got up. I mean, rescue remedy. Anybody in trouble is great stuff. Mm-hmm. Great stuff.
I know about that. It's like deep in my medicine cabinet. I should bring it out. I should put it in their
water.
water. You can put a couple drops in the water.
Always carry it with you. Yeah. It works miracles. So if you're under stress or anything, and it just helps you, Bach flower remedy. Yeah. They deal with flower essence.
The plant medicine. I think I've heard that there's everything that we need in our. I mean, but everything to really be like a whole, happy, healthy, prosperous, joyful being. You can. It's found in the plant kingdom. So if we're lacking in any of the things, right, that the plants, there's everything we need is in nature, but not the animals that we're eating. It's in the plants that can heal us. Yeah. Yes, because that makes people sick. And even though people say, it doesn't. Yeah, that's not right. And there's a lot of work that they can do on that. But if a person doesn't have compassion, they're not a human being. So what happens? And to get it, they have to bring it back. They have to begin to have and ask. If you anything that you don't have, ask within. You have a well right with you everywhere you are. You're never alone, ever. Right. Ever. Mm-hmm. Never. Well, never alone. And when I want to review just some of these points so that because it's so important. Like I get so excited when I'm talking to you because it brings the magic and the miracles into our lives. And a lot of people are listening to us and they're like, either we're wacko or they want what we're having, right? And I think I thought it was wacko when I first started, but now it's a science. It's really, it's more than, it's an art and a science because there's specific steps. It's not some pie in the sky and the sweet by and by. No. You don't know when you die, you don't die. You can't. You are life itself. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, you want to do the affirmation too? We had one down at the bottom. Yeah. I'm just going to read through these just for people because some people will go to the blog and read it and some people won't. And so I'm just going to take it just a few minutes here and then we're going to read some practice affirmations. So, this is your obstacle clearing process. So number one was you talked about this. What do you want to accomplish or have? Number two, request that the subconscious bring up the thoughts, beliefs, reasons that are opposed to your attaining and having what you need and intend. And then you said, I use a yellow line tablet and write out all the considerations so I can see for myself the thought form entities that have been attempting to steal my creative life energy. 3, then list any fears, doubts, beliefs concerning the objective. These are thought forms. 4, what is wrong with having what you want? That's a big question. Huge. It's huge. It's what is wrong with having what you want. You're the believer of what is wrong. So we have to find it. We have to know what's distorted in our thinking. And where basically you're saying, where did you get these ideas of what is possible and what isn't possible? Right? Powerful. Number 5, what is not okay about having what you want? 6, what is the number 1 fear that is preventing you from achieving your objective? My number 1 fear is fill in the blank. 7, what benefits are you getting from having this fear? What are you getting out of it? That's a great question, because you're getting
That's
something
a really
out
good
of it.
one.
Well, we wouldn't do it.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you don't get what you're getting out of, and I don't get anything. Well, why are you doing it? Oh, I don't know. Well, find out. You can do it. Yes.
Right. Find it, because the minute you find it, you're closer to having the thing that you're saying you want.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. So, and number 8, there's 4 more steps here. Number 8, what are you afraid of happening when you achieve your heart's desires? Number 9, what will the benefits be from attaining and having what you intend? 10, what will it cost you if you don't endeavor to attain this objective?
Important.
Whoa.
Look at that. Yes. Yes.
That's huge. So people think the cost is so great to have what they want. Oh, I can't do that work. I don't want to look at my fears. I don't want this deep truth telling. I don't want to do the work, right? But there's a huge cost. All this energy is going into resisting and putting up the blocks and working overtime for the thing that you're saying you actually want. You know, it might be too expensive for you to sustain those blockages. You might realize that in this process, right? And then 11, the last one is, are there some issues you want to delve deeper into using this process and list them? You know, you might have been in this process once, you figure out some fear that really pops up and you say, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was rattling around. But as you do this more as a practice, you'll find other layers that are in there that were supporting those other distortions.
That's right.
They're all working
That's
together.
That's right. They're a team. They are a team. And each thought form is like an alive being if you believe it. You make it alive when it isn't. It's just a bunch of letters on a piece of paper called words. They make into sentences, which is called spell casting. You see, through word magic, because if people say, well, I that doesn't really matter to me. You have to look at what it is, the bigger picture. And it's like you cannot die. So this is the perfect time to take ownership of yourself. I have a whole new thing I'm working on now. It's called I'm Taking Over the World, Mine. I can't take over your world. I can't save I can give you, Maria and I can give you all the knowledge, which we will, and everything, and work with you. But you have to do your part, because it's like if somebody has a bunch of baby chicken eggs that are ready to hatch, and it looks like one's starting to crack, and you think, well, I'm going to help the poor little chicken out, and you crack the egg, the chicken will die. It has to crack out of its own shell. Right.
We have to crack out of our own shell, right? Exactly.
And then they say that this thing comes from, I like this word. It was, oh my gosh, what was that word? Through suffering. Why there is through suffering that a person basically is healed, because the karma is your suffering. What you did produced that within you, the result. So the suffering means you feel what it feels like to be disconnected. All suffering comes from being disconnected from your source within. So you are connected with the mind that lives in separation, and it is dealing thought forms and beliefs and concepts and ideas that anybody can put out there on all kinds of stuff. And you have to have discernment if you want to have a good life. When you whatever it is that is in your heart to fulfill and to realize and have, it's there because that's what you need and you want. Get into the adventure. Find out what's possible. This is the message of now. Connect with Source. We're a powerful force. And each one of us,
Yes.
the whole world can fall apart if it wants. But if I stand strong, my world is beautiful. That's right.
Yes. What you just said, like you're saying, if I stand strong, this is what is possible. That is your reality, and we get to create that no matter what's going on with anybody else.
That's right. That's right. And people try and convince you of their reality. Oh, no, it's this. And they've got experts who will convince you. Everybody go to, and then you get a whole bunch of information to back it that you can't do that. Well, great, you can't do it then. I don't have to have that, and I can do it.
Right? Because all we have to say is that I can, and I will, right?
And I will. Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And you do it. But a lot of stuff you have to keep quiet about because you're going to bring up envy and doubt in everybody else's mind, and you'll quit.
Yeah, I'm going to read this because this is the last bit of your process, and you have a key word at the end. So after people, get out a notebook, you have to write it out. You're not going to, it's not just a mental exercise. You're going to do it with your hands. You're going to get your senses in there. You're going to feel these things with this deep truth telling and look at your blocks. And then after you do that work, you say the clearing is close your eyes and notice where the fear-based thought forms have been hiding in your body. Using your breath as a broom. Oh, I love that. Using your breath as a broom to sweep out the fear, the guilt, or abusive thought forms, and visualize them leaving your mind and body while turning into golden sprinkles of creative energy for having what you need and desire in your heart. Who doesn't like golden sprinkles? I mean, that's the best. And then you say, when you feel you are empty of the depowering thought forms, fill your mind with truth. Think and speak your affirmation and feel and imagine you having what you desire. I suggest that you repeat your affirmation, truth statement 108 times a day with feelings and agreement. 108. What's that? How's that the magic number?
Well, it is a magic number. A lot of people, Krishna has 108 best what's called gopi girlfriends. Many different, I don't know what it means, but I'd say I'll just go. But it's also the miracle number of 9. So you got 1 and a 9,
Right.
Yes. An 8 and a 1. Yes, you did. But those are there. But then you write them down, and if any stuff, then you also say delete. If you don't want it, cast it out and throw it into dispel. Dispel it. Stop. We're the ones who are basically the magicians, who are who are basically, what do you call it, sourcing those ideas. So the ideas are given to us basically some major mind computers under big mountains. That were those two those two towers in New York. If you take pictures of them, you'll see all the bottom were all tuning forks around them, and they were sending out all of this bad frequencies out there to control mind. It's all energy. It's all sound. It's all of this, and it's being done. So you yourself have to own yourself. That's what it's really about.
Yes. We don't want to be an unconscious creator because that's how those negative, mechanisms control us. But when we step outside of that game, out of the box.
That's right. Yeah.
I like what you said also. That's so interesting about, you said if unwanted thoughts appear at any time, say delete. But I like especially what you just said, dispel. Unspelling the spell, right?
That's right. Because the D is always not. It's all, even the problem with divine, it means not the vine of God or the divine. But we also have to make the words be what we want. And it's like Michael and my sweetie and I, we make up words all the time. I never say a swear word ever because I don't want my life to look like that. Plus the big F word and the MF word is an attack on women. And it's an attack on men, and it's an attack on love, and it's an attack on sweetness, and it's disgusting. And when people do that, they're attacking themselves. And what we are is we're sacred, sweet, holy, divine beings. Sweet as the sweet.
We need words of sweetness, and I do the same thing. I make up words. words come that, like, if there isn't a word in the English language, the vibration I'll feel it, and it'll give me the word that I need to make.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You just create it. Yeah.
Yes, right. You can make them up. Everything's made up. Make it up yourself. Yes, make it
right.
Yeah. People, I know my writing is a little funky at different times because I never paid attention in English class. I was too busy cracking blonde jokes and looking at the boys. That's the way it goes. Yeah. So the editors get nuts with me, but why can't some of my favorite, like one sentence in here is like, what is it, like half a page long or something like that? But it doesn't matter. Oh. It's like, and I know one in there is, I'm going to go back. I have to change something in the first page because it was a little bit confusing and about the fourth paragraph, but that's all right. I decided I have so many great programs out there. I'm going to bring everything up to speed.
Yes.
And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Bring everything up to speed. Yeah, up to where we
right.
are now.
And this is what we fine tune. Like if we need a better word or a better, I'm a writer like you, and so I'll write something, and just like what you said, I'll say, oh, I'll feel another word, and I'll say, oh, it'll be better. I'll use that one. We are constantly creating. If we would be aware of this and choose it and claim it. And what I love at the very end of this whole thing, which is so critical, you have one word. I mean, you say at the end, I'm going to read it because it's so beautiful. It's a loving message from you. You say, breathe into your heart and confirm truth, and then let go and let God. And you say, I love you. But you say, P.S., persist. How many people give up? They miss it because they, if you look for that wallet one time and you guys didn't find it, maybe you never have his wallet again. But you did it. You did it like 2 or 3 times.
That's right. Persist. I kept working it. Don't quit. Because I remember, and sometimes, your magic also works even better when you're asking for something for someone else. I was at this big party, and there was a beautiful oil painting of the ocean, and I knew a friend that would love that. And so I visualized, and I had to leave, right? So I visualized my friend who was next to me, Joanne, my going to her house after I got through my other appointment, knocking on her door, and there's the painting sitting right there and it was exactly, I closed my eyes. I didn't know what I was doing. I said, I'll just be the vibration of the painting. And everything was exactly that way. And then I gave it to my friend. Okay. Because sometimes you can't accept that good for yourself. I remember I went to a big party when I was first learning manifestation, and it was huge. It had about 500 people and a big banquet. I won 6 door prizes immediately, and everybody in that place was staring at me like they wanted me to die. I thought, well, I better quit winning. That's enough.
Well, then you obviously were already becoming or being a master of number 3, which is letting it in. Be willing to have all the good that you asked for, right?
Yes. Nobody's stopping you, but are you in harmony? See, it's like maybe what you want isn't good for you, but you think like, I have to have that person. No, you can have a wonderful relationship, but let go and let God figure out the divine, and you get your right person, not your old pattern.
And you just exactly. You don't have to muscle it, work at it, steal it, envy it. If you just allow it and you get into vibrational harmony with it, it will find you effortlessly.
It has
effortlessly. And we all know what it's like if there's something we want and we haven't been able to somehow manifest it. That can get tricky, but that's when you go to this exercise that Terry's suggesting, and you can figure out where are the torques in my energy field.
That's right.
Right? Where are these blocks, right? And the minute you clear that away, you create the pathway for it to find you. Yeah.
That's right.
And you have these 4 great affirmations that are just, people can listen to them and tweak them in whatever way it's going to work for them. But these are beautiful energies. You say, I always have a wealth of what I need to achieve my heart's desires. That's a fantastic one. If you really feel it, you can't just say the words. It's all your senses saying it that makes it happen, right? That brings it into you.
Yep. You're there.
Right? You say you're there with your whole body present in that energy of what you're claiming. There's another one that says, now it is perfectly okay, right, and good for me to have blank. You just fill in the blank. You're giving, that's like, it is okay. It is right and perfect for me to have X, whatever X is. The next one is, everywhere I look, there are wonderful opportunities for me to prosper. Ooh, I like that one. That is absolutely true. Everywhere I look, there are wonderful opportunities for me to prosper. You know, and I'm somebody who like records and I do podcasts and I do all kinds of things.
You're wonderful, Marie. Wow.
Oh, well, I love the creating. And, you know, I tell you, if I'm reading a message or something that came through and I'm doing a recording, I'll read a sentence one way and I even did it in this podcast today. Sometimes I have to reread it because a certain word wanted vibrational emphasis.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Good for you.
And I felt that where I just said that everywhere I look, there are wonderful opportunities for me to prosper.
Yes.
And I'm saying wonderful because that's how it should feel. Right?
That's right. And wonder if you said that 108 times. Get yourself one of those little tally counters. I used to give them to my students all the time. And it's you press the button every time you chant. You press the button because people say, "Well, I don't have time to say my affirmation 100 times. It's only going to take you 10 or 15 minutes." But with real concentration, it is powerful. And but you've got 2 hours to worry, 3 hours to gossip, another 4 hours to look at stupid celebrities and football and basketball players like they're your gods, which these are just a hype. You're a divine being. Own it, accept it, and be it. Come on.
Right? And then, you know, claim what you're saying you want or change what it is that you're saying you want. I mean, we have to be in integrity with what we're asking for.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely, yes.
And this last one I love. I am surrounded with kind, nurturing, loving, and supportive persons. You know, that's important because that feeling of having community or being loved or having people that you love, it's just what you did for your friend that you were describing. You augment the manifestation. You can increase the manifestation. And when we feel that sense of community, and I know there are people who listen to this and sometimes they do feel lonely, especially these last few years. A lot of people feel incredibly isolated still, whether they're isolated and stuck in their minds. That's a huge form of isolation.
That's right.
Or physically, they just, you know, don't go out and they don't go to gatherings anymore, or maybe they're unpracticed at being with people and they're afraid to get out there again. You know, just saying this affirmation will help bridge you into the experience of having some good people in your life.
That's right. You have to be willing to. Oh, yeah. I remember once I was at I think I was at the racetrack or something in San Diego, and there was this really good-looking guy up there, and I thought, you know, he's my pattern. So I'm going to go check it out. So as I went up, I asked a few questions, and I went, yep, he's my pattern. I'm leaving. Don't. If your pattern isn't working, change it. Don't keep doing it.
Right, exactly. Pay attention to what you're really attracted to and then feel like, will this increase my energy and life force and goodness, or will this decrease my goodness? Right? And we can learn. We learn from ourselves. We all learn from ourselves. So
we can learn from everybody.
Everybody.
Even what not to do. Yeah, you learn what not to do. You just watch. But it's really, everybody's on their own path, shall we say. But there's some paths that, like if there was a sinkhole in the front, people say, oh, I don't know. They don't know what's going on in the world or whatever. Well, the only way we get some idea of it through media, but we really don't know in a lot of things. But we know what's happening with us and personally and where we are. But yeah, it's like there's a lot going on, and it's all a story, and it's called history, his story or her story or whatever you may be, but you're not your story. And you are a divine being, and you can make new stories, and the old stories are already over and gone. Make a new story for yourself. Yes,
it's so it's so beautiful, and it's so, like, if people feel like they're really contracted and dim and small in their lives right now, just take a deep breath, and you'll feel some expansion in your body. You know, we have to breathe and believe and know that what we're living, if you're living something unpleasant or you're boxed in somehow, whatever it might be, it's you start these affirmations that Terry's talking about, where you let yourself feel what it's like to be a creator, to be somebody that this is not my reality. You said that a lot in the last.
That's right.
This is not my reality. And then
no,
you choose
that one.
What is. Yeah. Then
There were
these
these two men that used to come up to my church service in San Diego because it was kind of down close to not Skid Row, but a little area. It was the California Theater, and these two little men, and they were, you could tell, had little challenges, but anyway, they were sweet as could be. And then one Sunday, and I would go down to the apron of the stage after the service and shake hands with people and meet people. Well, these two little guys were so sweet. And so one day, only one showed up, and he said the other guy was arrested. The next week, they were both there again, and the one say, I visualized myself out of jail. Because they would have just picked them up. They didn't do bad things. But, because there's only two kind of people that get this. Those that they think are mentally retarded and absolute geniuses.
Right.
That's the way it works. Everybody in between goes, what's happening? I know.
But that is so fabulous because he didn't let his mind in any way get in the way.
No.
He just visualized himself out
of jail.
Right?
He's out. Yeah.
And we have some stories. My partner and I, with another friend of ours, did a film trailer, and the film's still getting made. But she worked in the prison system. And she would lead these groups and teaching people about energy and manifesting and a lot of these concepts. Okay. And some of those men literally manifested instant release. And I can tell you when they were doing that, Terry, her waiting list increased. There were a whole bunch of guys who wanted to line up and say, how do I get into that?
Absolutely. It works, man. It works. Of course it does. Of course it does. This is who we are. And we're just scratching the surface. You might say, dig deep, because it's bountiful and beautiful, because we're all connected to an unlimited reservoir of love, sweetness, divine pleasures of the soul.
Yes. It's so beautiful. Well, this has been amazing. I think this is your steps, those 11 steps of the obstacle clearing process. People like to have tools because when they're not practiced at some of this stuff, they like to have a bit of a template to follow, and then you make it yours. You add in your feelings. You add in your wisdom, right?
That's right.
And we're so blessed, though, Terry, that you're still sharing this wisdom as the teacher that you are, helping humanity that's lost touch with who they are. You're still living your mission and purpose, and I just feel so blessed to get to chat with you and connect with you like this.
Well, and I'll tell you, ditto, to be with you, Marie, because we have fun, and because we're on that same purpose and mission, and so we know, and we have that commitment within, and that's why our lives are good, you see. And we didn't start that way. Oh, no, at different times. Oh, no, they were there, and I remember I am so grateful, which just seems strange, for my miserable, horrible first marriage, because it took me to a metaphysical church. And if not, I thought, I could have been one of these poor, miserable old ladies living in Beverly Hills in a condo with and I'm not trashing poodle dogs, but, a poodle dog. And my two best friends were the lawyer and the doctor. I said, that's not going to be my future. No way.
Right.
No, I don't care about that stuff. No. That's why I call my work Adventures in Enlightenment.
That's right.
Yeah. Adventures.
That's what it is. It's it's a series of grand adventures. It's not just one big adventure, but it's such an invitation. This is what the whole thing is about, is to have those adventures. And if you're in a low point, the beautiful thing is right around the next feeling or intention that you have is a higher feeling, a better experience.
That's right.
And the soul likes to have those tests. There's a part of us that likes to see ourselves triumph over things that previously trapped us.
That's why you have to let children and things, which I didn't know at that time as much, but I did a lot of it. They have to make their own discoveries. And one of my precious students and dear friends, of course, her little grandson, he was like about a year and a half, and he was trying to put his socks on, and she had to do everything she could to try and not help him, and he did it himself. He had to struggle a little bit, but he did it. And that meant when that confidence, when you complete something like that, you go, I can create. If people don't know how to create, they'll destroy. That's what they're doing now with a lot of
creative impulse can be destructive. Yeah.
Absolutely. They're creating destruction because they don't know how to create. So they are taken over by something that doesn't know how to create, that the mind can't create original. It's a replicator. That's all.
Oh, wow. Right. Yes.
It's a replicator. Mm-hmm. And
basically, and it's the heart. It's the impulses from your heart, right, that help. That give you the inspiration.
Right. Definitely. And one of the things too is you catch things like when I was in India and I spent as much time as I could with my guru, my teacher. And in that place, you always had to have a man next to you because they have very strong little rules. So there's not a lot of doubt and weird things. So anyway, but that kind of, you pick up other things from the teacher because they have the consciousness. So sometimes I didn't understand Hindi and Bengali and all that, but we were there and he would call me and I would watch and see how he even took care of the baby cows and things like that. And when you're around a great soul, there's so much more you don't find in a book. But also some people are able to write where they're so good in their consciousness that you can get a lot through the writing, you see, because it's captured. So you might call that's a great poet or someone else. They've captured something in a few words. And words cannot ever show who you are because you're inconceivable. And words are concepts. So who we are and source and God is inconceivable because you can never prove the existence of who you are and source by concepts. You're inconceivable. So God, and the very thing that there are atheists proves that God is real, because you can't be against something that doesn't exist.
Wow, that's a good one. Oh my gosh. Oh,
I love you.
I love you too.
You're the best.
You are brilliant. Yeah, it's so good.
Takes one to know one, Marie.
I agree.
I think we need to keep doing this a lot. Wherever it's going to go, I think it's really cool. We work good together.
We are good together, and I want to thank you truly for having this kind of fun with me that also touches people's lives, because that's how it should be. We should all have fun like this and touch people's lives.
Absolutely.
Right? And so here we are covering these 8 steps. Today was step 3, and the next one is your prosperity action plan.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to get into that one next time.
Yes. Oh, boy. And we want to hear. Let Marie know or let me know what's going on. And if you have questions or you want to know more about any of the things, ask her.
Yes, and people can write me at frequencywriter@gmail.com, and people can write you through your website, terrycolewhittaker.com. I know there's a place there that people can contact you. They can also donate to support your work and the Adventures in Enlightenment. And they can also reach out to you because they want to work with you, because Terry does coaching sessions.
Absolutely. I do mentoring, a lot of mentoring. I love that. But also work, like people who want to be spiritual practitioners and things like that. It's one of the best things, because when you know the truth, it doesn't matter what your job is. I work with people like one of my top students. She's a project manager for government contracts and building bridges, and she's got a whole bunch of men that work under her as the program as a project manager. She's brilliant.
Yes.
That's how she uses love and encourages everybody.
Right.
Wonderful. So you use it because wherever you are, that's your ministry. That really it is. Doesn't matter where.
Right.
You are.
And I like what you're saying. I just want people to make sure they're hearing you, that if you need support to bring more light to the work you're doing, to your life, to other people's lives, that's Terry's specialty. That is your specialty. So yeah, please reach out to Terry or to me. And I want to thank everybody for visiting with us today. And Terry, I want to thank you. And we will connect again next month for another good heart stream like this.
Yes, and I just know that your work is expanding, and that these great students are receiving what you have to offer. See, the key is ask questions. Some people, that was also with my guru in India. He would sit there. He wouldn't start telling us stuff unless we asked a question. He didn't interfere in our lives. If you want to know something, ask me. I'll give it all to you. If you don't ask, then you won't get it. That's all
right.
You have to do.
It's in the asking, which is shown. Because then that's conscious creation. Otherwise, it's indoctrination. Right. If we're dishing it out, right. Yeah. Exactly.
Or you're letting your mind tell you what you can do and you can't do, and you deny your own inner knowing and experience and your own purpose. Stop that. This is it. It's my life to live as I choose. And if you want a good life, you got to be in harmony with the divine and with the cosmos. Come on. That's it. It's not hard.
Yeah,
it's just the challenge is to discipline ourselves.
Yes. Yeah, it absolutely. Absolutely. And it definitely helps us to have these kinds of conversations. People have to hear it a number of times so it starts to become their own, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you.
Well, because it is their own. They're remembering, because it's not something you have to memorize. Once you hear it, you even feel good. As soon as you even hear it.
And the feeling good is another sign of remembering. Yeah.
Just walked across to remind me that she wants something to eat.
I think the cat says this podcast needs to come to a close because I have a creation.
That's right. It's over, Grandma. Let's get going.
All right. Well, give her a hug for me and keep one for yourself. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Right. We'll talk soon.
I love you.
Blessings.
Great.
I love you too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.